Well, I want to start out by giving a big shout out again to Senator Grahl, who successfully navigated HB 1 through the Senate this week and did a remarkable job. There's no one I can think of in either chamber that's a bigger defender of parental rights and protecting children and childhood than Senator Grahl. And I'm also here with our House sponsors, Representative Soroy, Representative McFarland, Representative Rayner, who've done also a marvelous job in passing the House bill, and we've made changes throughout this process that I believe make this bill not only the strongest in the nation, but also one that will pass constitutional muster. And we're very excited about what this means for the future of our children here in Florida. And with that, I'd like to ask Senator Grahl to come up and say a few words to you, and we'll take your questions.
Well, I would just like to thank the Speaker, because the Speaker taking up this mantle to protect our children, there's a tension, and I think I talked about that in the Senate. There's a tension when the government gets involved in these type of matters, but he has really dug in to understand the harm. And until you do the research, until you get down to the bottom of the facts that surround this argument, it is difficult to understand the magnitude of our need to act. And he has taken that and that responsibility so seriously. It's just been an honor and privilege to work with him on this, and the focus on the constitutionality of it and how we pass a law that works for Floridians. It's just been an honor and privilege, Speaker, and I am just grateful for everything that you have done for the state of Florida.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is a very proud day for the Florida House of Representatives, and I want to thank Speaker Renner for his bold leadership on this issue. I do believe that the Florida legislation is a standout in terms of what other states have tried to enact in this space. I do believe that it meets constitutional muster, and if you believe that the features are addictive, if you accept that, then you understand that there can be no parental consent. And that's something I look forward to getting back here in the chamber and discussing in a little bit more detail. But Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for your bold leadership in this space.
So good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it's me, a Democrat, that's supporting this bill, and that's a proud co-prime sponsor of this bill. And I think it's really important to highlight this, because this is truly a policy discussion. This is not a partisan issue. This is not what things that you may have seen before, but this is really about protecting our children. And protecting our children doesn't have a letter behind your name. It has value. It has morals. And this is what this bill is about. This is a bill that myself and Representative Soroy 2 years ago, who are vastly different, undertook. And I'm so grateful to the leader for understanding that this is not just a bill that is just for this session. It's not just for 2024. This is a generational bill. This is a bill that will save lives. This is a bill that I know that will save lives. And I understand that folks may have some consternation about the constitutional muster. And this is what I would say to them, that are you willing to have consternation about the constitutional muster and not act? Are you willing to maybe not go to the courts and see what happens and not act? Are you willing to have a parent come into a committee room and say, you could have done something, and not act? So this is the moment that the state of Florida, in a bipartisan fashion, is taking a stand and saying, you will not build your companies on the backs of our children, and we will protect our children.
Think about what the governor said earlier today. He basically said, he would be in favor of something that would include a parental opt-out. Is that something that you're considering?
Well, I mean, we've had many good conversations with all stakeholders inside and outside the Capitol, including the governor's office. And I think if you look at this bill, you see all the enhanced anonymity we put in, which was an issue that he had raised with us. I'm really proud of that piece of the bill. It's important. We agree on that point, that we need to protect people's anonymity, and it does that. On the parental rights issue, I think there's a challenge there, and you have to balance effectiveness and constitutionality. And one of the things the courts have said is if you put in a parental opt-in or parental consent, if you believe, and it's been said by the prior speakers, that this is essentially these addictive features and these personalized algorithms are vials of poison really on the table, you don't let a parent consent to having that kind of harm on their child. And so because of that, have a parental opt-in presents, I believe, a poison pill itself to the constitutionality of the bill. And so that's just not a place where we can go. And I think if you just look at the facts, people look at the evidence, and unfortunately it's staggering, it's tragic, and it's growing, and people are beginning to realize more and more how damaging this has been to an entire generation. And Representative Rayner said it right. There's no Republican kids or Democrat kids. There's kids, and we're going to protect all of them. And so we're not going to fail to act. The courts will do what the courts do, and if for some reason they say, you got 9 out of 10 points right and 1 not right, we'll live with that. We'll go back to the drawing board and try again. But I don't know if that's the case. We feel like we've got a good product. We've worked with people that are national attorneys in this area to make sure that we're as tight as we can be, and that's why, again, this is directed so people back home understand this is not kicking kids off the internet. It's not even kicking them off social media platforms per se. It's only if those platforms continue to have their business model founded in addiction and harm on children that they're not able to access those platforms. But there's many platforms that do not use those features, and they're free to continue using those. So a lot of the concerns and arguments I heard are really not even covered by this bill, and they'll continue to be able to do the things that they need to do from an educational standpoint, from a business standpoint on the internet, just as much as they did the day before the bill goes into law. So,
Would you try and override a veto?
I think that's not a conversation we're having. We've had really good conversations. We've been arm in arm on so many issues, both Republicans and Democrats, to do things, whether it's kid care, many, many things to go improve the lives of children. The governor's been with us 100% on that, so that's a premature question.
But are you going to you're going to pass it there?
We're going to take up the bill. We're going to take the bill here in a minute.
Are you going to send it to him?
We'll send the bill. We'll send the bill.
Before the end of the session?
We'll send the bill. We'll send the bill.
Because I mean, like today?
We're going to pass it. We're going to send the bill.
So that means if
I got to get back on the floor and pass the bill
only
first.
have 7 days.
Yeah, I understand. We're going to send the bill over. Yeah, I think we've had a lot of time. We spent a lot of weeks, going back and forth on this. I think we're in a really, really good spot. I think it's one that if people, fair-minded people, look at it and assess what we're actually dealing with and what we're not, and consider the harm, as the prior speakers have mentioned, it's an easy one to get behind and get done. And we'll go to the courts and we'll see what they say.
What's different from this one than the one from other states? Like Ohio had theirs just struck down this past week.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And one of the things that the court, I understood, I haven't had a chance to read the opinion, but as I was advised on one of the challenges in that opinion was the parental opt-in that they had. And they said, look, if it's that bad, why are you letting some parents give their kids something that's so harmful? And so I do believe that this bill is different than any other bill that's been passed in the country. It's narrowly focused, again, on addiction as a business model of certain social media platforms, and therefore it's going to be constitutional, but it's also effective. Because you don't want a bill that passes constitutional muster, but it gets watered down so much that it really doesn't do anything. And you want it to be effective enough where you don't trip over constitutional concerns. So we have not pointed and said, this content's good, this content's bad. We're not going to do that. We're going to, hopefully get these kids off social media and let parents, moms and dads, make that decision. That's their decision on how to influence their children, not some algorithm designed by a stranger. And so,
There's an ad out there against House Bill 1. How would you describe the lobbying that's going on surrounding this bill?
what I can tell you is that we're talking about the richest companies in the world. They have co-opted many, many places. So you see an article or you see some conservative organization that I would normally be aligned with come out against the bill, and you track it back and you realize that there's Zuckerbucks there, and they've been co-opted essentially. And so, I'll say this to you. All the members that are supporting this bill, there's not a donor behind this bill. There's not a lobbyist behind this bill. This is a bill that is a genuine passion of Republicans and Democrats to protect kids and give them their childhood back. And that is what we're going to do today. And I'm super excited. Thank you, guys.